we've got a known dead deer here, and we're going to look now at how we go about doing an external inspection before we even stick a knife into it. So we've got the deer, it's dead on the ground, put gloves on, we're looking at the general condition of it. Initially it looks a very good condition deer. I feel along its spine it's nicely filled out with good condition amount of meat on it. Check the hooves, between the hooves we're looking potentially for foot and mouth. And whilst I've got the back leg up like this, I'll take the opportunity to just check for any kind of parasitic burden that may be present in the groin area of this deer, but it is nice and clean. Coming to the head, I'll check the mouth, looking for blisters, looking at the tongue, looking around the lips, it looks good. And checking the rear end to make sure it's clean of any kind of scour. So this is really good condition deer, which will be going into the food chain very shortly. I'm now going to bleed the deer. Taking my knife out, picking the point just above the breastbone, knife in, and letting the blood come out. So we've got the deer back in the larder. It's in a stainless steel cradle, and we're going to start preparing the carcass ready to hang up and start the evisceration. Okay, so I'm going to start by taking the rear legs off of this deer. Cutting through the hot fur, cutting around, cut through the skin. Finding that mark, the leg comes off. Cut round the fibre. The leg comes off. So I'm now going to open the chest and the body up. I cut around the fibrous material that holds the windpipe and esophagus in there. Okay, so now I'm going to saw the chest. I'm going to take the udder off now. The main point about this is to make sure we cut round and free it off without nicking the actual udder on the inside, because then we'll get milk contaminating the carcass. I'm now going to remove the rectum and reproductive tract. And I'll do that by putting a knife in down the side here. So I put a knife through the skin, keeping it up against the bone of the pelvic girdle, stabbing it through and slicing down the side, keeping the knife angled away from the inside organs. I come across and do the same on the other side. And then cut the fibres around the edge of the pelvic girdle, keeping the internal organs away from the edge of the knife and the point of the knife. And then coming underneath the rectum, between the rectum and the bone, slicing through. Then going down and round, freeing up them fibres. So it should be now quite clean all the way round. So what we then do is make sure that we don't have any pellets about to come out. So I'll squeeze the pellets out, keeping it clear of any pellets in there. I'll now put my hand up and just make sure that I'm breaking any fibres just at the back edge here. There's a little membrane, and I'll put my hand inside, cupping over the rectum and the reproductive organs so contamination can't get onto the meat. I just bring it through with one movement to outside the carcass. Then coming inside here, trim around the diaphragm, taking all the organs in one go, letting gravity do the work for me. I'm now going to remove the head. The way I do it, holding it by the ear, put a knife against the back of the ears, against the skull and across. Then taking the knife in and round the joint of the atlas joint and through. Okay, so I'm now going to remove the front legs. I bend them at 90 degrees and you can feel a little knobble of bone in there. I put the knife up against that, angle it slightly in, cut through, and then just let the knife work down through the natural gap that opens up. Doing the same again, 90 degrees, find the bone, put the knife against it, angle it slightly, cut through, and let the knife follow that natural gap as it opens up. Now have a look inside the carcass. We're looking in there to make sure there's no lesions, any lumps or bumps or anything that shouldn't be there. And that is, barring the bullet damage, a really nice clean carcass. So I'm going to go through the lymph nodes inside the gralloch, holding it up by the windpipe and the esophagus. We come down to the top of the first lung and we're looking for the lymph node. So that's the bronchial 1 lymph node. It's the right colour. Texture looks good. Whilst we've got it here, we're going to look at the lungs. We're looking for any kind of abscesses, lumps, bumps. We could look for signs of lungworm, which would be lumps on the bottom edge of the lungs. Then we'll come down a bit further. We'll come to bronchial 2, which is in here, is there. Again, that's quite normal, that's good. We then look at the heart. The heart is free floating within the pericardium, and that's how it should be. It's not enlarged. Thinking of the lungs in the top of the carcass, past the lungs, we've got a mediastinal, little lymph node just here. Sometimes they can be quite a bit bigger than this, but this one is particularly small, but that's fine. Coming down, we have the spleen. This is exactly how it should look. It's a similar colour, it's that whitish effect on top of a plum colour. It's all good. Looking here at the liver, we look at the general condition of the liver. There's no lumps, bumps, we inspect the edge. Could be looking for liver fluke, but this one is free of any abnormalities. And we're looking just here at this lymph node, which is the portal on the back side. Of the liver. Coming under here, we find the gastric lymph node. Again, quite normal. And then we're going to look for the mesenteric. So we have the Cumberland sausage style side and the smooth side. We're looking for the smooth side. We get the intestines out of the way and we can identify that lymph node chain that runs right away round to here, with this end always looking a little bit bigger than the rest of it. And that is quite normal. For the purposes of clarity, I'm just going to show you another set of lungs, and this one is one of the bronchial lymph nodes, which is slightly bigger, but again of no concern and no issue. And I'm going to incise that just so we can see what it looks like. And there is the inside of the lymph node, and there's no issues with that at all. That's perfectly normal. Just out of note, this is a hemal node, and they're perfectly normal throughout the carcass, but you'll often find these around the fillets inside the carcass. Little black balls, they're perfectly normal. This set of lungs also shows shot damage where the shot's gone through, and as you can see, it's quite devastating to the lung material. Obviously, These are the chest shot deer and the damage for the lungs, and this is a head shot deer which has got no damage to the lungs, just so you can see an example of the two side by side. So we're going to look for the submandibular and retropharyngeals within the head. Now, it's a point worth making that if there was an issue with this deer, and let's say it had TB, this lymph node, and there's only one on this carcass here because the other one's been cut off as the head's been removed, but that one there is a perfectly normal submandibular lymph node. It's quite small actually. However, if there was an issue with, let's say, TB, that would be so large that you would see it in the external examination. It would be a lump on the back of its jaw, thinking where the head is, and that lump would be here, and it would be quite clear. So we can see the first one there, that's absolutely fine. I'm now going to take the jaw off, move the tongue back, and find the retropharyngeals. Cutting down either side of the inside of the jaw. I now get the tongue, pull the tongue back, and we're looking at the inside of the mouth. Cutting down either side, taking it a little bit further back, and the two retropharyngeals there and there. So we've finished the inspection of the carcass, and we're going to fill out a carcass tag, which is a declaration which has to be attached to any carcass that goes to an approved game handling establishment. So the first thing to put in is the estate and location. The date killed. Time killed, the weight 26.6, species fallow, it's a female, remarks damage or disease none, then I sign it, put my name in and my number. Taking the tag, put it through the flank. So the tag's on, the carcass is clean, been inspected, it's ready for the chiller.